Hey everyone, this is Dylan, and today I'm going to be doing a movie review for you guys. So the movie I'm reviewing today is The Cave. The Cave was released on August 26th, 2005, so that means next week it'll be celebrating its 15th year anniversary. It was directed by Bruce Hunt. It stars Cole Hauser, Eddie Cibrian, Morris Chestnut, Lena Headey, and Piper Perablo. Cole is playing Jake, Eddie is playing Tyler, Morris is playing Top, Lena is playing Catherine, and Piper is playing Charlie. This movie had a budget of $30 million, and its box office, it made $33.3 million. So this was pretty much a box office failure. This movie came out around the same time as The Descent. The Descent had only been released in UK theaters at the time, but this movie released in the United States before The Descent. And it's often compared to The Descent, and it's one of those things where these two movie studios had the same idea and did the same thing, and then it was a race to see who could get the movie out first. So now let's talk a little bit about what The Cave is about. So we have a cold open where we see a bunch of men, and this is taking place during the Cold War, so probably around, I don't know, the 80s. They're in Cold War Romania, and they're up in the mountains, and they go to this church. And it's not entirely clear why they're going there, but they're looking for a cave. And this cave is underneath the church. I'm assuming that they probably think that there is like treasure or something underneath this church in this cave. And so they go there. And there's like this legend that you can see on the ground in this like mosaic artwork in this church. It's an abandoned church, and you can see that there's like these like winged creatures and stuff. One of the guys is like, "Where's the cave?" And one of the other guys is like, "It's underneath us." So they take an explosive, explode to the ground so that they can get to the cave, and once they're in the cave, then the entire church collapses around them. We then fast forward to present day in the movie, where there's some scientist and I assume an archaeologist who is uncovering the cave, and they're like, "We're gonna need some divers." So they call this like world-renowned team made up of Jake, Tyler, Top, Charlie, and some other people. They then become our main characters, also with two scientists, one of them being Lena Headey's character, Catherine. They find some new species of animals that have been evolving in this closed-off cave ecosystem. So they find like a spider and a mole-looking creature. They find salamanders and scorpions. And so while the scientists are doing the research, Lena Headey's character, Catherine, is like, these are kind of weird. There's like, she's looking under the microscope and sees this like parasite thing. It's like this thing, and you can see these little tendrils coming out and attaching itself to these cells. And so she finds it in the mole and in the salamander. So they think that that's kind of odd. And so while they're going through this cave, there's like this, they have one section of the cave, and then the only way to get to another section of the cave, which is going to become their advanced base camp, is to go through this underground passageway that's 2.4 miles long. And it's completely underwater. So they have got to dive through it. Two of the people on the team have to go and repair this wire. And while one of them is repairing the wire, the other one goes off because he thinks he sees one of these moles that's down there. So he's swimming or whatever, and he comes up to a clearing where there is a dry cavern. And he goes, and then he gets attacked by something. And as he's trying to escape, he takes like this, it's like one of those underwater fans that people have that helps propel them. So he takes one of those and he starts it, but he's pulled away at the last minute, and it crashes into the side of the cave, and the cave collapses. The passage that they are in collapses. So everyone is stuck at this advanced base camp. with no way out. So they have to try to figure out what's happening and how they're going to get out of this cave. They also, two of the other characters, Jake and another character, go and they are kind of surveying where they're going to do next, and he's attacked. Jake's attacked by this creature, and ends up cutting off one of its claws. He has like huge scratch marks on his shoulder, and so he takes it back, and they notice that the same parasite has affected whatever this is that's attacking them. So essentially, the rest of the movie is them trying to figure out what these things are and how they're going to escape this cave alive, since one of their crew members has already died. All right, so now let's talk about what I liked about this movie. So I liked the cave and like the set design and production for the entire cave. I think it's significantly more interesting than, say, The Descent, which this is compared to a lot. I think while The Descent is a pretty great movie, this movie does have some things that I think are better than The Descent. And I think the cave itself is. I was seeing a lot of criticism about how they really didn't do anything with claustrophobia, and I can understand that with a cave. I also really liked the creatures in this movie, which you can kind of see one here. I mean, that makes it look like it's humongous. It's really not. It's a little bit bigger than like the size of a person, I would say. Maybe, I don't know, horse-sized? But I really liked the design of the creatures. The only thing about that is I didn't buy them as evolving in this cave. I thought of it more as it looked more alien than anything. It really reminded me of the creatures from like the Cloverfield movie and also The Quiet Place. I think that those are really, they could be like cousins. But I thought that it looked cool overall. They did use a lot of practical effects in this, and I really appreciated that. There were a couple of CGI things, and the CGI didn't particularly look that good, but it was from the 2005, so it kind of makes sense that it didn't look that good, but the practical effects looked amazing, and anytime you can do practical, it's just really cool. I also liked, which this is kind of a spoiler, so if you don't want to know, skip forward like 15 seconds. But when you get infected with this parasite, your eyes change, and that's how you know you're infected. But it's almost like they're making a cross, and I thought that it kind of reminded me of like almost like a goat eye, but it looked really cool. I thought that effect was pretty interesting. Now let's talk about some of the things that I did not like about this movie. Some of the character stuff is a little weak. Like, you know that all these people are friends, and there's kind of like this rivalry between the two brothers in the group, but besides that, you don't really know a ton about any of these characters, which doesn't do good for character development. So that's a negative for this movie. There was also just like a technical issue that I thought was kind of hard to overlook, and I didn't even notice it because I've seen this movie several times before, and I hadn't even noticed it before. And then I watched some video about like mistakes in movies, and this was one of them. And it's so when they're in this underwater passage and diving and stuff, they have like the respirators in, but it's like just the regular one that goes in your mouth and you breathe through it. The problem is they were talking the entire time. And while I think it could be possible to do it, it's not realistic, because they were just talking like normal. And and what they should have done is have like a full face mask so that they could talk in it. And I'm kind of surprised that nobody had brought it up, considering there's so much diving in this movie. I'm sure that they had divers on set, and why wouldn't the divers have been like, you can't talk in these? So that was kind of a pretty big blunder. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I think that it has a lot of interesting things about it, and I think that it's kind of like a guilty pleasure for me. So now let's talk about what other people thought of this movie. On Letterboxd, it has a 2.2 out of 5. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 12% critic score and a 28% audience score. And so my personal Letterboxd score I gave it was a 4 out of 5. I don't know. This is just kind of a guilty pleasure for me. I really enjoyed this movie, and I would definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it. It is streaming on Tubi, so if you are interested in watching it, check out Tubi. It's a free streaming service. And that's it for this review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching, and remember to subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and give this video a like if you liked it. Thank you guys for watching, and have a great day. Bye.